Hello. Hello.
Um, Today I'd like us to work on the identity operator is and is not. So, what exactly does this do, or is this? So, this is used when you want to determine whether two variables are the same object. I hope you remember what we said when we started talking about objects, in that when we create a variable name or whatever is created in our file, an object is created. So the identity operator is and is not is used to determine whether two variables are of the same object, right? So we use this to check if two operands are bound to a single object. So we did say when a variable is created or whatever is created, an object is created for it. So this is used to check if used to check if they are bound to a single object. Yeah. The inverse identity operator, this for is. What of is not? Is not. This one just negates what I just say. Negates what it is. Okay. So, like if they are not bound to the same to a single object, it is used to determine whether two variables of the same object are bound to a single object, right? So it's not now negates the values in that they are not bound to a single object. I hope that's clear to our explanation of is and is not. So another thing is identity operators is and is not. They do not compare object values, right? What do they compare? So they do not compare object values. They compare object identities. So identity operators are used to compare object identities to determine their values. Now that's clear that they compare values, but they compare object identities to determine their values. Now that's clear on how identity operators either is not works, right? Another thing we have to know about identity operators is that basically what an identity operator is. Since we said when we create anything or any object or any variable name or any in our file, our compiler automatically creates an object for it which temporarily stores it. I hope you can remember that. If you can't remember, you can go back to our videos when we were starting the course. We did talk over how objects and how objects are created in programming. So what happens is an object identity basically is the memory address, right? So basically what an identity operator is the memory address. So these are what we're comparing, whether it is or it's not. So again on that, so we're comparing if the reference the same object, right? They're the same object, returns true. Right? Oh, that's clear on how the identifier operators works. Object values memory address, so they return true if the operand reference of the same object. Oh, that's clear. Okay. Let me put some clarity on how it returns true. So when does it return true? Right. So it returns true if returns true if the operands, right? Reference the same object, right? So if the operand reference the same object, right, it will return true. Hence false if they don't reference the same object. Hope that's clear on how the identity operators works. So identity operators returns true if the operands represent the same object. So now here comes the issue whereby we use the double equals, right? So when do we use this, and where does the error comes in? So an error comes in when we confuse the double equals to and the identity operator. So double equals to so these two the double equals to, right, and the identity operator. We just said identity operator reference object reference the same object, right? So here we say identity operators compare. We just said, I'm just writing what we just said. Compare object identities, right? So okay, I've just said it compares the object, compares the same object, right? So okay, I was talking about the error of double equals and the is, right? So basically double equals and is. So basically these are double, right? So what happens is the confusion comes in that the Python itself may be confused when to use double equals to and is, right? So a common error that occurs is to confuse equivalence operator you know how we normally use this in our examples, right? So whereby we confuse this and the is operand operator, identity operator, because a statement, for example, x is 3, right? This is a valid syntax and is grammatically appealing, right? I hope. So for this one, Python may confusely evaluate the statement x is 3 as true, right? But y is 100. So why would Python say x is 3 is true, but y is 100 as false? Whereby when we say x is equals to 3 and x equals 3 and y is equals to 1,000, x is equal to y is equal to 1,000, right? So basically, why would this happen? This is because Python would pre-create objects for small range of numbers to avoid constantly recreating the objects for such small values. I hope that's clear on our calculation and our example of double equals and is, and our is and is not operand. So basically an object 3. So for example, I'll just come. An object 3 was pre-created. I've just said Python tends to procreate numbers for objects for small values. For example, 3, 4, I guess up to less than 10. So in 3 was procreated here, right? So this will turn it as true, but this is as false. Why? So I've just said Python will tend to procreate for small numbers, right? So for this example, object 3 was procreated, right? So x references the same object as the letter, right? I hope that makes sense. So for 1,000, this one, we've talked about why it could create for a small value and for a big value it will say a false. But for y, it did not procreate the 1,000, right? So a good in this example, a good practice to avoid the confusion, and a good practice would be to avoid using identity operators. So it would be advisable to stop using the is and is not, unless whether the objects are identical to objects I hope that makes sense. So we should try as much as possible to avoid using it because it brings about the confusion. I hope that makes sense. And give us a little bit of understanding for our identity operator is and is not. It might bring a bit of confusion here and there, but we've covered something on how it works and everything. That's it for today for the identity operator. In our next in our next class we'll go further into Python. Happy coding, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye.